Welcome to section 14.1, part 1. This is the 148th session of the CISSP exam prep series. This part opens our study of how systems decide who gets to touch what. In this session, we'll unpack the machinery behind authorization. What is the difference between permissions, rights, and privileges? How do systems mechanically enforce access decisions? What principles keep those decisions tight? And how do the discretionary and role-based models actually work? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because you will spend real hours deciding who can open what. Picture a regional credit union rolling out a new lending platform. Loan officers, tellers, and branch managers all need different reach into the same records. Get the authorization design right, and everyone works smoothly with no oversharing. Get it wrong, and a teller reads files meant only for the compliance team. Let's start with a distinction the exam loves. What is the difference between permissions, rights, and privileges? Permissions are what you can do to an object, like read, write, or delete a specific file. Rights are the ability to take an action on a system, like changing the clock or restoring a backup. Privileges are simply the two bundled together. Think of a building. Permissions are which rooms you may enter, rights are which machines you may operate, and privileges are the master set an engineer carries. So how does a system actually enforce access by default? Through a principle called implicit deny. Unless someone is explicitly granted access, the system refuses them, quietly and automatically. Imagine you give one analyst full control of a shared budget file and mention no one else. Everyone else is locked out, even though you never name them. The absence of a yes is treated as a no. This is deny by default, and it is the safe foundation under almost every mechanism. How does the system keep track of who can do what? Two structures organize the same facts from opposite angles. An access control matrix is a central table crossing every subject against every object, listing the exact access each one holds. A capability list flips the view and travels with the subject, carrying a token that says which objects that user or process may reach. The matrix is object-focused, mapped from the resource outward. The capability list is subject-focused, mapped from the person inward. Same permissions, two vantage points. How do you shape what a user even sees? With a constrained interface, rather than let everyone view every function, the application hides or dims the controls a person is not allowed to use. A junior support agent opens the console and simply never sees the delete account button that a supervisor sees. What you cannot see, you are far less tempted to try. The interface itself becomes a quiet guardrail. How can access depend on the data or the situation? Two related controls handle this. A content-dependent control decides based on what is inside the object, like a database view that exposes only customer names and emails while hiding the credit card column underneath. A context-dependent control depends on the surrounding conditions, like requiring a shopper to complete payment before the download page unlocks, or blocking a login outside approved hours. One looks at the what, the other looks at the when and how. What principles keep every grant as tight as possible? Three work together. Need to know limits people to only the data their job actually requires, even if they hold a broad clearance. Least privilege goes a step further and limits their rights to take action, not just their view of data. Separation of duties splits sensitive tasks across two or more people, so no single person can commit fraud unchecked. Together, they form a quiet system of checks and balances that keeps power distributed. Where do all these requirements get written down? In a security policy. This is the document that names what needs protecting and how far the organization should go to protect it. Senior leadership approves it, which gives it authority across the whole business. But notice what it does not do. It states the requirement, such as enforced least privilege, without dictating the exact clicks and configurations. That translation into real controls is your job as the professional. So what are the access control models we build on top of all this? There is one discretionary model and a family of non-discretionary ones. In discretionary access control, every object has an owner, and that owner personally decides who else gets in. Everything else, role-based, rule-based, attribute-based, mandatory, and risk-based, is non-discretionary, meaning administrators manage it centrally for the whole environment. Keep that single dividing line in mind. owner-controlled versus centrally controlled. Let's look closely at the discretionary model first. In discretionary access control, whoever creates or owns an object controls access to it. Build a new spreadsheet, and you own it, so you can hand out or revoke access as you please. Owners can even delegate that power to a data custodian for daily upkeep. It runs on access control lists attached to each object. And because owners edit them freely, the model is wonderfully flexible but never centrally governed. This is exactly how file permissions work on common desktop operating systems. Now the role-based model. How does role-based access control avoid the mess of per-user grants? By assigning privileges to roles instead of people. You define a role by job function, attach the right privileges once, then drop user accounts into it. Back at our credit union, you create a loan officer's role, and every new hire simply joins it and instantly inherits the correct access. Move someone to a new department, and you pull them from the role in one step, cleanly stripping those privileges. This is what stops privilege creep, the slow pile-up of access people accumulate but never lose. So let's bring it together. Permissions, rights, and privileges describe what you can do. An implicit deny means silence equals no. Matrices and capability lists track access from the object side and the subject side. Constrained interfaces, content and context controls, and the principles of need to know, least privilege, and separation of duties keep grants tight. A security policy sets the requirements. A model split into owner-controlled discretionary and centrally controlled non-discretionary, with role-based access being the great defense against privilege creep. In Part 2, we finish the remaining models. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on rucloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.